I have the perfect strategy and build for an elite in-game archer. Now, as you know, bow builds seem like they might be a little underwhelming, but you just have to know how to build around them, especially since you have this new arrow talisman that you can use to make them even stronger. Also, this talisman that allows for you to deal more damage with successive attacks. With the bone bow, the skill allows you to perform almost unlimited successive attacks, along with the physics that gives you unlimited stamina for a short amount of time. So you could just spam this to no end, but the strategy I'm referring to is using this brand new spirit summon from the DLC. Its name is 𝐤𝐤, the Golem Smith. Now, you encounter these in those dungeons where you find the meteoric or greatsword. They sit down petting those lava enemies, and they just seem like they're guardians or they're workers in those dungeons. But if you try fighting them, you'll notice that they're super tanky, and it's just not worth going through that hassle unless you have some crazy build that counters them. It's not worth your time, in my opinion. So I got to thinking, when it comes to the archer builds and the bow builds, when fighting bosses, they always aggro to you because they notice that you're from a distance, being annoying and dealing a lot of damage to them. So when I pull this summon out, it's literally a tank that stands there. It also deals damage, but it has such a high health pool. And I think that because the way it's designed, the bosses and enemies just aggro to them by default. So it's the perfect strategy to utilize if you want to be an archer, especially using the bone bow, to just sit back and spam these arrows to no end. Depending on what boss you're fighting, you can utilize a certain arrow type. Like, I noticed that the last boss of Elden Ring is weak to fire damage and lightning, so those are the arrows I was using. Especially with the Elden Beast, it's pretty much a cakewalk when you sit back. You don't want to fight the Elden Beast close up. You want to use a bow and arrow, which is what I found out when using this build. But the other talismans besides the bow talismans, of course, you want to use is the Rotten Winged Sword insignia. This basically raises attack power with successive attacks, and the Warrior's Jar Shard that increases your skill damage by 10%, because you're using a skill when you utilize that rapid attack fire with the bone bow. Now, as you can see, it says that it scales pretty poorly in all the areas as it's at a D, but that's fine. With the way that you run this build, you're going to be dealing a lot of damage and from a safe distance if you like the archer playstyle. Now, if you want to be more tactful and run around and be more nimble, you don't have to use this Ashes of War, which I used on this boss, and that's okay too. But I found this strategy really good, especially in endgame, because endgame is where it all matters, right? Those boss fights and the damage that you deal is important. And if it doesn't reach a certain threshold, then it's not worth using. But after understanding what I needed to do to make this build, I think this is the perfect strategy, and I think you should use it too if you like the bow or archer playstyle, which I am a fan of. I honestly hope that they can make this playstyle stronger, because it's not really that hard to dodge arrows in PvP, especially. It's not that much of an annoyance. You have to have skill in order to use that. So I think that they should increase this, give it a few more talismans, or give it something else that you can make it better with. Granted, there is another arrow talisman that you can add to this, but you have to aim down sights in order to do that. And me personally, I'm just not going to do that because there's so much going on, especially in boss fights. It takes away the auto target once you aim down sights, which is not worth it. Anyways, this was a quick video, and I just wanted to highlight this and show you how effective the in-game archer is. Oh, and I almost forgot, you can also use the Spirit of Yolan and Anna as summons for distraction as well. You'll be dealing more DPS, but I don't think the bosses or enemies will aggro as much. By the way, if you want to see a video on how to get Yolan and Anna, it's right here. But that'll do it for this video. And if it helped you out in any way, like the video, also subscribe if you're new here. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.